Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome everybody online. Welcome everybody in person. And we are holding now here in the beginning, just the second class in Torah Chav Beis, lesson 22 in Likutei Moharan. This Torah is called Chosam B'toich Chosam, a seal within a seal. And we'll do a review in a second. Before we do the review, I just wanted to take the opportunity to tell over a hashgacha pratis maisa that happened today, which I always like to bring up if can. So today I had to I had the schus to drive Ramata Frank, who was with us all week, from Niagara Falls we went to stop by the caver of the tzaddik in Buffalo, and I took him to the airport in Buffalo. So he was staying in Niagara Falls at a hotel. Him and his wife wanted to see the falls, the Niflayis HaBoireh, the wonders of creation, right?
Yeah.
So there's another person from Eretz Yisrael who happens to be in the city right now just for this week. He's trying to collect money for a orphaned boy who's getting married, and he happens to be a cousin to Ramata anyway. So he decided he wants to also go out to Niagara Falls. So he was davening this morning in Bobov over by Wilson, and so he decides he's going to try to go there. So he goes, he finds a guy, just any old guy, to ask him, do you know where I can rent a car? And the guy's like, I don't know where I rent a car. Why? And he's like, well, I want to go to Niagara Falls. The guy's like, what? You want to go to Niagara Falls? The one guy that he chose to ask is the guy who works for me in our winery in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And he said, are you serious? He's like, I'm probably the only frum guy in the city who goes out there every single day, and I'm the guy that you asked. So he took him out there, and then we took him also with us when we went across to the caver of the tzaddik and to drop his cousin, Ramata Frank, off at the airport. They came back, but he said something very sweet. Just he says, so we hear these stories, right? But how do we think about them? Like, what's the way that we understand them? So he said, we have a little bit of a wine metaphor in here also, but. So I said, wow, you see from the story, we were speaking in Hebrew and Yiddish a little bit, but I said from the story, you see that the Rebbeinu Shalom führt die Welt, that Hashem runs the world. Like, how could you make this stuff up?
Two of you together.
Right? Mm-hmm. So he said, Ken, rak lo lehafriya. Lo lehafriya. It means, you're right, yeah, Hashem runs everything. We just have to be careful, like, not to get in the way.
Not to interfere.
Not to mess it up. Not to interfere. Right? Meaning, how do you see this hashgacha pratis? Like, sometimes if you just go where Hashem pushes you, you'll see that you'll end up in some like amazing places and amazing things will happen. But if you fight and you try to push against it and go against the wave, so then maybe things don't appear so nice like this. Rak lo lehafriya, right? So it's beautiful. The wine metaphor is like this. So there's a statement that people make in the world. They say like this, that man makes beer and God makes wine. Why? Because beer, you have to take the grain and you have to malt it, then you have to boil it to extract the starches of the sugars, and then you take that thing called the mash, that's what you ferment and everything, right? But wine, you take the grapes, squish them a little bit, and they, on their own, they have yeast built into them to make wine. They have another kind of yeast that takes away some of the harsher acid and turns it into a nicer acid. Like, everything happens and makes it good, right? So one of the sayings that we say in the wine industry, winemakers, is the job of a winemaker is just not to get in the way. Mm-hmm. Just don't mess it up. Right? Allow it to happen the way it's supposed to, just don't mess it up. So this is one of the beautiful ideas about a way to see hashgacha pratis.
The way to live.
Hashem's running the way to live. Hashem's running the world. Hashem's putting us on the path where we need to go. Just don't get in the way. What's the word to use? Don't interfere too much. Yeah. So we got it's like a...
Well, hafra'a is interference.
Right.
It's which lane you want to drive in.
That's right. And one of the statements that I always like to say to stay in your own lane, yeah. One of the statements I always like to say about this is... sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, okay.
Actually, a book I'm reading right now, written by Dr. Rabbi Abraham Twersky.
Yeah.
You familiar with him?
Sure, of course.
It's called "I've Got to Get Out of My Way,"
right.
or "I've got to get out of my own way."
Very good, very good.
I just started it.
Yeah, the thing I always like to say is we got to ride this wave of Ratzon Hashem, right? If we can just be on the wave of where Hashem's taking us, we're good. If we get too far behind and we don't do what we need to do, we're lost. Sometimes if we push too far ahead, it just crashes over us and we don't see what it is. Anyway,
But I think
that's
we need
just
to define, like, what does that mean, getting in the way? Because people don't realize how they're getting in the way,
yeah,
right?
yeah, could be.
Maybe you can give a class on that.
Maybe. It sounds like we have to.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have to. We'll come up with a bit of it in this class also. Okay, so yeah. Having said that, that was just an introductory hashgacha prata story. Amazing story. So let's just do a quick review. So we said that welcome. Oh yeah, for those who would like to, we're Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow night. We're having here in the shul. We have a regular base of midrash night here, but we're going to have a spot blocked off for B'yona is giving a what do you call it? A shiur based on the new book that he just published. So it'll be an opportunity to come and hear, about the book and a shiur based on this, and everyone is invited tomorrow night, 8:45, right here, 53 Bevshire Circle. Everyone's invited. Men and women are invited. Okay. A quick chazara. So we said last time that there's a chosem b'toy chosem, a seal within a seal. And so I have to give something over here because I was speaking to Rav Mata about this, and he gave some incredibly, incredibly deep things that some of them we're only going to unpack later on about this Torah. He's really unbelievable, by the way. He knows everything. Like, you could ask him a question on like the deepest aspect of Kabbalah, and it's as if he's reading it right in front of him. He knows. I asked him a question on this Torah. Like, we were driving, and I said, how, maybe you can give me some advice on how to give this particular idea over. And so he just right away, without anything, he says, well, that lesson was given over at this time in this place, and it was different because of this and this. And he went and just from his memory went through the entire thing, step by step, from like a higher level view, and gave over a whole perspective like that was. And then at the end, he gave over a whole thing based on Kabbalah and Gematrias and the names of Hashem as how they relate to this, which we're going to see later on as we go forward. Mind-blowing. But one of the things that he just said that makes this particular Torah easier to understand, is to make sure that we have in our minds also, which we brought a little bit last time, the background of the structure of the year, particularly in the month of Tishrei. Because Chosam b'tzay Chosam means a seal within a seal. So everybody knows that on Rosh Hashanah, there's a din, there's a judgment. Everybody knows this, right? And we understand that that's something that we have to be part of. But our tshuva is it's not based on, but our tshuva affects that judgment. And then after the judgment happens, our tshuva during the Aseres Yemei Tshuva, during the 10 days of tshuva, can change that, can change it. And so what, by Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur, we change the lashon from the things we say, from kasvenu, right? B'sefer Chaim. We say ad Ne'ilah, chasmeinu b'sefer Chaim. Seal us. So Yom Kippur is the first place where we have a seal. And what does the seal represent? The seal that we're talking about represents the hamtakas adinim, the sweetening of those judgments that were made on Rosh Hashanah. And then, afterwards, we have a different concept. And that is the concept of Hoshana Rabbah, which is, whatever it is, 9 days later, something like that. It's, the last day of Chol Moed Sukkos. And that day is known to be the second seal. And so, if you remember, what we learned last time is that the first seal is in the hands of the tzaddikim. So the tzaddik is made aware of the Gizar Din that's in the world. And the tzaddik then, without revealing exactly what the details of that Gizar Din are, so that the negativity and the negative forces in the world can't grab a hold of it, he speaks to the Klal Yisrael and brings us close and inspires us to do tshuva based on what that Gizar Din is, what that decree is, right? So the first seal is all about the tzaddik, right? Just like Yom Kippur, what's Yom Kippur all about? The whole entire Musaf is all about the Kohen Gadol. It's all about the Kohen Gadol. It's all about the service in the Beis Hamikdash, right? But then, the second seal that we talked about is now that the tzaddik is giving us this musar, it's up to us, right? And we were the lashon of the hands, right? Hands which mean emunah. It's up to us to have emunah, and especially emunah chachamim, emunah in what the tzaddikim are giving us. We have to now be makabel with our hands, receive this advice, this musar, this inspiration that the tzaddikim are giving us, and actually take it and do our part with it, right? So too, what do? Right after Yom Kippur, we go and all of a sudden we use our hands and we do all these mitzvahs. We build a sukkah, we take the arba minim, right? And we do all the stuff. It comes with Shana Rabbah, and we take the aravos, and we do all. So that represents our aspect of the seal, right? So this is how we see it now in Kabbalah. There's also going to be, maybe we'll see if I can pull it off. Sometimes it extends all the way to Hanukkah, to Zayis Hanukkah, right, to the end of Hanukkah. The seal, yeah.
Why is the second seal on that day? Why not the next day, Shemitah Seret?
Yeah.
Why that day?
That I can't answer you. I don't know. This is the way it comes down in this round. I'm not sure exactly why that day, but Hoshana Rabbah, yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, it could be. I mean, it would make sense actually to say that because I remember why actually. Because in order to get to the next stage, right, the Yontif of Shemitah Seret and Simchas Torah is it's a time when now like we receive tremendous oiris, tremendous light of Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, and we know Shmini Atzeres is a separate holiday, and it's a much deeper holiday. And in Chassidus, it's like the highest of the high. It's called the Yichud. It's the closest time that we have with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Shmini Atzeres. That's why there's no mitzvahs. There's like nothing to do. Why? Because it's just an absolute intimate relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we can only get that after we do our part with the mitzvahs ma'asis, the active mitzvahs, and then we finish Hoshana Rabbah and we come right into Shmini Atzeres, right, which is this deep relationship and our relationship with the Torah, right, and then Hanukkah. So maybe we'll speak about Hanukkah in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. But from that backdrop, right, we see that this is the whole system. Now we can take that and understand that this also, the Gemara says, that every person has a judgment every single day. We can take this now and we can say, okay, now, besides for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Hoshana Rabbah, Shmini Sukkos, right? Besides that time of the year when we're all focused on tshuva and din and the whole process, this is a constant process as well. And we're constantly in this realm where it's so important for us to be able to connect and receive from the tzaddikim what we need to receive to get us on the right path, to put us where we need to be, in order that's the first seal of sweetening the judgment, is the tzaddik giving us what we need. And then the second seal of sweetening the judgment is us actually doing it, actually doing our part and listening, right? So that's kind of the whole, that actually turned out to be a pretty good chazara, what's it called? A review of what we were talking about. So let's start now, page 334 in this one, which is Gimel in the Hebrew. Okay, so now we got to go to the next step. There's two steps. Pardon me? I have Gimel. Tzarich liros l'malais es hayadayim. Yeah? Ois Gimel. So we're going to see two majorly serious points today that are really awesome and very practical. Tzarich liros l'malais es hayadayim. We have to see to it that we fill our hands. If you remember, what did the hands refer to? Vahi yadav emuna, the pasuk says. Hands refer to emuna, and emuna particularly in the Chachamim Tzadikim. Ayedei ha'ara mishiva roim. How do we fill our hands with emuna? Ayedei ha'ara mishiva haroim. Through an illumination of the seven shepherds, the Shiva Roim. 7 shepherds of Klal Yisrael are Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David. Those are the 7 shepherds of the Jewish people, right? The Avos and the Manhigim. Shehem Klalios Kol Manhigi Ador. They are the general, the Klalios, like, I need a Hebrew word. I need an English word for this Hebrew word here. Klalios Kol Manhigi Hador. Kol Hadoris. They're the
inclusive.
Yeah, they're like the, what's the word?
Encompassing?
Yeah, they encompass, but I don't know what they're called. Okay, they represent all of the leaders of the generations, right? They're kind of like who we refer to as the tzaddikim, the leaders of the generations. V'chinas shivas yamim tamale yadam. Okay, so the pasuk says, first of all, we have to know that in Kabbalah, these shiva roim, each one of them also corresponds to one of the days of the week, right? Each one of them corresponds to one of the days of the week. And so the pasuk says, by the mitzvah of Sukkah, Shivas Yamim Tamale Yadam, that for 7 days you shall fill their hands, right? So 7 days, Shivas Yamim, they are the Shivas Yamim. They're the 7 days, because in Kabbalah they correspond, each one of them, to one of the 7 days of the week. Tamale Yadam, they are the ones who are going to fill up our hands. Our hands are Emunah. They're the ones who we're going to draw Emunah from. That's how we understand that pasuk. Because they roim ha'amuna, they shepherd emuna, right? Lasakna, to rectify it and to perfect it. That's why they're called roim. They're not called the shiva roim, right? There's maybe 3 reasons why they could be called the shiva roim. First of all, because all of our avos were shepherds. Right? Okay, that's not the reason why we call them that. Also, maybe they're like a community leader shepherds his flock. They shepherd us. That's probably a good reason, right? But here he's saying there's another reason for that, and that is because of this pasuk. Shivas yamim tamali yadam ki hem royim. They shepherd the emuna. Sakmal hashlima. V'al shem zeh nikrayim. That's why they're called shepherds. Why? Al shem. The pasuk says in Tehillim, urei emuna, and shepherd faith. Be a shepherd of faith, of emunah, right? The pasuk in Tehillim really connects the concept of being a shepherd to the concept of emunah. You could draw a lot of simple ideas from this. One is that the main thing that our manhigim do, that our leaders do, the most important thing is that they bring emunah to us. Because if we have emunah, kol mitzvaysecha emunah, everything is affected by and based on emunah, right? It's the most important thing that surrounds everything. It surrounds everything, right? So that's what they have to do. Al-Shem urei emuna, yeah. V'chol ikar emunas Yisrael mamshichin heim lahadar, and really it's the aspect of the emunah of the Jewish people that draws them into the generation also. V'zeh b'chinas kol kadeshecha biyadecha, and this is what the pasuk means. We say in Devarim, kol kadeshecha biyadecha, all of your holy ones are in your hands. What does that refer to? Shehem b'chinas kol shel kol manhigi hador. That's referring to all of the kedoshav. Refers to all these people who are the tzaddikim, the leaders of the generations. And what do? They put biyadecha. They give yadecha, hands is emunah. Vahi yadav emunah. The pasuk says, right? Moshe, shu echad meshiva roim, and Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the one of the 7 shepherds, nikra al shem zeh raya mehemna. He's called because of this raya mehemna, which means the trustworthy shepherd. That's his title. There's a section of the Zohar HaKadosh called raya mehemna, which corresponds to him, miyuchas to him, right? So this is the aspect. The shepherds are the leaders of the generation, the chachamim, the tzaddikim, who guide us, and their main asik with us, their main job with us, is to implant emunah into us. You everybody with me? Okay. Very good. So how do we do it? So that's why we see, by the way, in the cycle, like we were talking about of the year, so the first thing that we have to connect to on the first seal of Yom Kippur, which represents the tzaddikim, is all the service of Aaron HaKohen in the Beis HaMikdash, right? Not only that, who was the first one who did all the service in the Beis HaMikdash before Aaron HaKohen? Was Moshe Rabbeinu. He did everything first before Aaron HaKohen did it, right? So the tzaddikim are the first step. Can you imagine those of us who have been at this shiur for a long time, those of us who have any connection to the incredible Torah of Rabbi Nachman, can you imagine a life if you didn't have it? Like, can you imagine the importance of the tzaddikim? Right? Imagine, you've ever seen a Lubavitcher who's mamish, on fire with the Rebbe, right? And you go anywhere in the world, so you could see a guy off in the middle of nowhere, all by himself, right? And he's got everything he needs. He's got energy, he's got commitment and emunah, right? Why? Because the Rebbe is there with him. Powerful, right? How could we live without the tzaddikim? How could we live without the Torah that we receive from the tzaddikim and the emunah that we have? Can't be. Okay, so how do we do it? How do we do it? We're on Dalet now, letter Dalet. And we can't come to these 7 shepherds. We can't come to the shepherds. We can't experience this aspect of emunah from our tzaddikim, shehem, koliyos shel kedusha, which are the embodiment of kedusha. That's the word I was looking for. Ella al yedei azus. This is going to get into a bit of a political conversation over here, a shtickle maybe. We have to have brazenness, azus. Azus, brazenness, maybe even stubbornness. Brazenness/stubbornness, right? Kamaimar Rabbi Senuzah, like Chazal say in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, and it's brought at the this is in the Torah, which is sort of the first organized version of all of halacha. The very first words of the Torah, the very first 3 words are Heve az kanamer, be brazen like a leopard, right? In Avodas Hashem. So he says we cannot do this. We cannot get close to the tzaddikim. We can't get emunah from the tzaddikim unless we are az kanamar, brazen like a leopard. Like the pasuk says, "Nehalta be'azecha al nevei kadshecha." We say this every day in Shiras Hayam, the song by the sea, when Moshe Rabbeinu was bringing the people in to Eretz Yisrael across the sea, right? So it says over there, "Nehalta be'azecha al nevei kadshecha," boldly, with boldness, be'azecha. You led them to Nevei Kadshecha, to your holy place, which is referring to Eretz Yisrael. How do you get to Eretz Yisrael? How do you break out of Mitzrayim, break out of Egypt and make it into Eretz Yisrael? Is ba'ozecha, through your brazenness. Haydu, ayadei azus nichnasim l'toicha kedusha. It's through this brazenness that you get into kedusha. So it takes, let's talk about the good side now. So Ramata spoke about this Shabbos day by us over here. And he was talking about the importance of akshanis, of being stubborn, right? And what, in your relationship with Hashem, azus, brazenness, and stubbornness with Hashem. What does it mean? So you might think that to be brazen, to be stubborn with Hashem is to come up and say, okay, Hashem, I demand that you give me these things that I want. Well, it doesn't have to be for something stupid, like a Ferrari or something, right? No. I need a shidduch. I need children. I want to learn more. I demand that you give it to me, right? That's not what we're talking about. That's not the good type of azus or akshonis. The good type of akshonis, stubbornness, is to go to daven to Hashem. Say, Hashem, you're not chayav to me. You don't owe me anything. You don't have to give to me. But you should know that I'm coming here today, and I'm going to be back here later today, and be back every single day. I'm coming every day, 3 times a day, and I'm going to talk to you in the forest, and I'm going to say Tikkun Chatzos, and I'm not leaving. I'm not stepping back. You don't have to give me, you know better than me, right? But you should know that I'm not stopping. I'm going to be here every single day, 3, 4, 5 times a day, whatever it takes. That's the akshonos and the azus, right? So we need this in our approach to connecting to the manhigei ador, to the leaders of the generation, because it's not easy, just from a positive way, just to build up the energy, right? To always remember, we said last week, on Monday, when you have something very holy, you get a lot of blockages put up against you, because the evil side looks and says, whoa. You're going to accomplish this tremendous kedusha. You're going to be inspired. You're going to grow. You're going to do mitzvahs and Torah. You're going to get close to Hashem. Not on my watch, says the Satan, right? So he puts everything he's got against us. So it's hard. When something's holy, it's very hard to have a kaviyas, to have a consistency. Thank you. So there's that aspect. But there's also a terrible aspect to this. Terrible aspect. So it's like this. Let's see the next part. Ki yesh roim shel hasitra achra. Because also there are shepherds of the evil side. V'heim gam kein mifursamei hador. And they're also mifursamei hador. Mifursamei hador, that means like the famous ones, the prominent, he says, prominent leaders of the generation. Mifursam means to be famous, to everybody knows, right? V'koifin anashim litchos shibudayu, and they force people to be under their servitude, under their banner, let's say, right? Ve'ikar malchusa al yedei azus. The main building of the malchus, the kingdom of the evil side, is through brazenness. Ki azus malchusa b'lei taga, because azus, brazenness, is this thing that it's called in the Gemara Sanhedrin. It's like a king without a crown, right? When a person is brazen on their own and from themselves, or when they choose to make themselves the king rather than to make Hashem the king, right? They're taking the crown away from the king, and they're giving it to themselves. Ki akalavim vehem ki chalavim ba'azusam. They're like dogs with their brazenness. Like the pasuk says in Yeshaya. You gotta see this pasuk in Yeshaya over here. I saved it. There's a whole section over here. Pasuk says in Yeshaya, he brings v'akalavim azen nefesh hema roim. The dogs are azen nefesh. They are bold creatures, and what are they called? Roim, shepherds. Says Yeshaya. Says Isaiah. Yeshaya Navi. V'hein panei hador ki panei hakelev. And the face, they are, what the pasuk says also, the face of the generation is like the face of a dog. The leaders are called the face of a generation. And if that's who the leaders are, it's like the face of a dog. So if you look in Yeshaya over here, in chapter 56, pasuk 10, I'm going to read it in English, okay? It says, their watchmen are all blind, they do not comprehend. They're all dumb dogs who cannot bark, who doze off and lie down and love to sleep, the watchmen. And the dogs are greedy. They do not know satiation. These are the shepherds who cannot understand. They have all gone off on their own ways, each from his own corner, for his own dishonest gain, saying, come, I will get wine, and we will guzzle liquor together, and tomorrow we will also be like this, and even much greater. This is the whole paragraph over that Yeshaya Navi is talking about. And what we're taking from this is that when a leader is there for their own personal gain, and they're trying to force people to be under their authority, their own personal gain, under their own authority, right? This is what's called a king without a crown. This is what's called the pasuk v'kalavim azei nefesh heimaroim. That's when the shepherds are dogs, right? So there's an interesting thing in Breslov, and it's very strong by certain people, certain leaders, to the extent which I do this all the time on purpose, by the way. If I know there's people who go to the main Breslov shul in Mea Sharim, I always ask them, okay, who right now would you say is the manhig of the shul? And they all say right away, like I know what the answer is going to be. I just do it because I like to hear how they answer. But they always say, "En manhig." There's no manhig. Yesh mashpim. There are those who are there to teach and to influence, but they say there's no manhig. There's only one manhig. Rabbi Nachman was the manhig. We don't have another manhig. Only, right? And it's for this reason that many of the Breslov leaders, I'm quoting in a good way, right? These are not bad quotes, bad air quotes. These are good air quotes. That these leaders, I'm saying they're leaders because they don't really put themselves forward as such leaders, right? Because there's it's like as if it's an isser, like a total Torah prohibition in Breslov to become what the word says over here, a mefursam shel sheker. To become someone who's like a big face, like a big leader who everybody goes to and wants to see, yeah. Mefursam shel sheker. It's like a thing. So most of the time, whenever I have like the big people from Israel, Breslovers over here, and I try to say to them, okay, come on, I'll give you a seat. Come sit, please, up front over here, beside me over here, right? And they're like, no, I don't know. And some of them, like Rabbi Chaim Kramer, is very much like this. He'll get mad at you. If I ever call him Rabbi even, he says, stop, don't call me that. And if I try to nudge him to come to a better seat, he'll be like, you better stop or I'm not coming back. Like, that's it. Do not try to put these people up and make them into a mefursam. Because it's like usher. It's crazy, right? So you can see from Menachem's language over here that when you have such people who become a mefursam, Mefursame Hador, the prominent people in the generation, right? And he says, Ki yesh roim shel sitra achra, v'hem gam ken mufarsam me'ador. They're also prominent leaders, right? But you can see how it can really pull a person down to that negative place. And that can really be something that can pull us into a negative place. Because how do we, sometimes how do you know who to follow? How do you know who to connect to, right? If you see someone who's very famous and it looks kosher, it looks good, but really it could be a person who's false, who's just really, really, try not to think too hard about people. It can take us down negative pathways if we attach these words to certain people. But by the way, it's also very important to when it comes to these things, another foundational aspect in Breslev thought, right? And this comes up sometimes, is that often you see that there's machlokes, fighting, arguing, there's between certain people. And sometimes you'll have a person like this, who is a popular face, a popular leader, right? And some people will be against him, right? And so people start to argue. Is this person yes, this person no, right? Happens all over the place, but so it's very easy to get involved in it and to start talking. And as soon as we start talking and start discussing, oh, well, I heard this about this person. No, I don't think you're right. Even if you're trying to be good and be on the positive side, it's always going to pull you into a very, very negative situation. And it's going to, for sure, bring out more and more lashon hara and more negativity, right? So one very big avodah in Breslev, and this applies very strongly in such a situation, but also to each of us in everything that happens to us, is we don't take these things and go and start gabbing about them. What do? You take it yourself and you go out to the field, to the forest, and you talk to Hashem about it. That's it. You figure out how to make sense of it in your own tefillas, in your own prayers, in your own talking to Hashem. And that's the way, whenever you don't know what to do, whenever you can't get clarity and you can't figure something out, or there's negativity and arguments and lashon hara going on, just, I don't need to be part of this, thank you very much. Look at the time, I have to go, and go out and speak to Hashem in tefillah. Very, very sweet, important idea. Everybody with me? Yeah? Okay.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
What's your question?
Yeah.
You said like the leaders are going to have faces like dogs,
yeah.
Right? And Rashi writes, when the Mashiach comes, we're going to have faces like dogs.
Yeah.
Is that connected or not connected?
I believe it's very connected. So Balter is asking a good point. It says about that in the generation preceding Mashiach, chutzpah is going to be so powerful in the world that everybody's going to be like, they have the chutzpah of like dogs. Dogs bark. They're saying like, hav, gimme, basically, right? And you clearly, that is like the face of our generation right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's gimme. Change everything for me. Change all the rules of nature for me. Change the government for me. Change every single thing. Change for me. I need to be accommodated. I need to have the world changed for me. Right? Yeah. It's exactly what we're talking about here, and that we haven't got to this next. It's going to be in the next part. But what happens is if we give the power to the roim of the Sitra Achra, it takes away influence of the tzaddikim. So the more that the power goes to, we talked about this in many Torahs, right? There's, like we said this in the very first Torah, Torah Aleph, about Malchus. There's a power of Malchus in the world, of kingship, kingdom. And it's ideally meant to be the Malchus to Kedusha, the kingdom of holiness, the Malchus of Hashem, right? But that's if we channel Malchus into holiness. But if we don't do that, Malchus is going to unfold in the world, and it's going to unfold somewhere else. The Malchus is going to be with Kanye West. It's there, right? The Malchus is going to be with celebrities. The Malchus is going to be with sports stars, with certain world leaders. That's where it's going to go. So too, if we don't direct the power of the shepherding, I'm sure there's a better way to say it, right? Towards the tzaddikim, it's going to go to these more shel sheker of the Sitra Achra, right? And that's what we see happens. Okay, let's go. Okay.
So you get the idea that each shiur has both the kedusha and the proper. So when you elevate the kedusha, you also elevate simultaneously the proper. So it's going to be as powerful as you feed the kedusha. The choice is whether to go in which direction. But you're never going to get rid of the proper because it's physicality.
Yeah.
They both go up simultaneously.
Yeah. It has to be able to fight against the other side, right? Yeah. Okay, in order to be saved from them. Mitachas memshaltam, from the being under the rulership of the Mufsam Shel Sheker. Efshar rak al yedei azus. We can only accomplish this through our azus, our brazenness. Lamad neged azusam, to stand up against their brazenness. Right? And then we will be brought into the holy dwelling through our brazenness. That will be able to go into Kedusha. In the beginning of the tour, where it says this, by the way, what does it mean to be brazen? There's a few ways that it can come out also practically. Right? So one of the things that he brings down, this is very simple. Not just about fighting to be connected to tzaddikim, but one way that we need to be brazen is there are certain things, we find ourselves growing. Maybe some of us didn't grow up religious and we take on mitzvahs at different times, right? And so we find ourselves in a situation where I want to do something, but I'm nervous that like people that I know are going to look at me and are going to be like, oh, so you're doing that now? oh, I see I see you're wearing a skirt now. They said to me, just kidding, right? or whatever it is, right? Or like it's brought down in the Mishnah Berurah that you go out, you shouldn't be afraid to do mitzvahs out in public, and goyim are going to look at you and make fun of you for doing mitzvahs. No. There you have to have azus to kedusha, brazen, holy brazenness, and say no. I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to be worried that you're going to mock me or you're going to, right? I have to have self-confidence, confidence in myself and in the Ribono Shel Olam and in my emunah that I'm doing it. That's one way. The other way is the opposite, right? I might think, with my false humility, that, oh yeah, I do this, I'm a holy person, and so I'm going to go do this big mitzvah. But you know what? People will see me. And then, really, I shouldn't do it in public because I don't want people to see me. That's going to... I have to be modest, right? So you have to use brazenness to break your modesty. Your these are bad air quotes. Your quote unquote modesty is not real modesty, right? It's false modesty, and you should go out and do the mitzvah anyway. Don't worry. Don't make a cheshbon that I can't do it because people are going to think I'm too holy. Okay, it's already. We need azus to do these things, right? And in every aspect of our lives, we have these things. We have like family members. We have people in the community who I always like to tell you guys. I used to be in a very, very Litvish yeshiva and kollel, very strict yeshivish, and so it came a point when I started learning more and more Hasidus, and especially Rabbi Nachman, where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. I'm going to go see my old Rosh Yeshiva or something like that, and what's going to think? But it came to a point where I just had to say, I can't do that. I just got to go for it, and I got to be who I am, and be the emunah and the Torah that I have. I can't worry about that, and so it's a tremendous weight off one's shoulders when a person lives with authenticity and honesty, and has confidence to do what they believe is right. Right? That's another aspect of azus. It's very important. Okay. Yeah. So how do we do it? So these are all practical pieces of advice, but there's something very important. This is Rabbi Nachman's advice on this. V'chol ha'kolos, all of our voices, hein shel tza'aka, whether it's crying out to Hashem, hein shel anocha, whether it's groaning, moaning to Hashem when things are difficult, hein kol ha'shofar, whether it's the voice of the shofar, hein kol zimra, the voice of our singing to Hashem, singing praise to Hashem. Kulam hem bechinas azus. Every time we use our voices in this way, that is an aspect of azus. Bechinas hein yitein b'koiloi kol ois. The pasuk says in Tehillim, beautiful. They will give with their voices the voice of ois, of brazenness. If you just think for 2 seconds, right? Have you ever been, everyone's been there, you ever been in a situation where you're like at a gathering of some type, right? And all of a sudden, right, sorry, what's your first name again? Richard. So Richard, for the first time in the shiur today, and right, like imagine, we start off the shiur, and I say, okay, now everybody, we're gonna go around the table, and please everybody say something that you learned this week. I don't know. I wouldn't do such a thing, don't worry. But I would say such a thing. And Richard came for the first time. Maybe he doesn't know everybody, right? Like, how do you feel then? Right? I would be very nervous, right? And I wouldn't want to speak. Why? Because as soon as I start speaking, it's very difficult to speak. When speaking, if you remember, in Kabbalah, the mouth is called the malchus peh. Right? That's the malchus. Why is it malchus? What is malchus? Malchus is the place of revealing that which is hidden inside. Right? So the mouth is where I reveal what's going on inside, in my intellect, inside my emotions, is revealed through my malchus. Just like the king reveals his will into the malchus. So too, malchus is revelation. I reveal me when I speak. Right? So if I'm in a situation where I'm nervous, or I don't know people, or I don't have self-confidence, and I'm a mess. So to speak is tremendously difficult. And we find ourselves being very, very timid when we have to actually reveal our real inner self, right? So you see what he's saying over here. You know how you harness the power of azus? Is you start doing it. You start tza'aka. You go out and you scream to Hashem. You scream to Hashem. You tell him what you need and what you mean and what's wrong and what hurts and what's painful. Anacha, the same thing, right? And we see many other places the voice of the shofar. Called Zimmer, we sing. What about tefillah? We go and we daven. Remember that famous line that I always quote from Rav Nosson Maimon, that he said that a shul should not be like a morgue. Shouldn't be quiet. You should come into a shul and you should hear the voice of tefillah. People should be davening out loud. The Gemara says that the voice, kol ma'erer kavana, the kavana ma'erer kol. Your voice inspires your thoughts and your intention in your prayers. And the more intentions and thoughts you have, inspires your voice more. It's like a vicious cycle in a positive way. Right?
Awakens.
What?
Awakens,
yeah.
What's the translation?
Awakens. You don't like our houses. It has to be awakened.
He said inspires, but...
Oh, I said inspires?
Yeah.
Okay. Awakens. It awakens. Yeah. Inspires. Awakens. Arouses. I'm using 3 words. Okay. But see, she said it. She didn't worry. She spoke it out. She said, right? So, and the kol, the voice, also in a couple other places, Rabbi Nachman talks about learning Torah b'koyach. Right? How do you learn? How do you learn Torah? How do you daven b'koyach? There's two ways that he says. One is with nigun. So when you daven and you sing, that's a way to daven with koyach, with power, with strength. And Torah also. You know, you go into a yeshiva, you see when people learn Gemara, they have, many people anyway, most people have a nigun that they say over the Gemara when they're learning. Right? So the power of using our voice, even when we're learning, right? Like how lame would it be if I just was like monotone and reading the words here?
We weren't taught that.
And that was it. What?
We're not taught that, to pray, at least from the secular side. Like, you're not taught that.
No. I mean, we are. Now.
Now we're not.
Yeah. No time like the present, right? Yeah, but you're right. No, you're right. Certainly in the secular word. Listen, if you're in certain places, you see that the kids, you usually see it with the. I remember there was this great rabbi Rabbi Yisrael Travis, who used to teach grade 1 at Eitz Chaim.
He was my son's teacher.
Yeah, he's amazing, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Totally, he taught my boys also. And he it's almost as if he didn't really care what the boys learned, practically like content, right? He did, but he would teach the kids songs to sing, and he would tell them, little grade 1 kids, he would tell them when they sing, close your eyes, and then he would bring the parents in for like a performance, and he would tell the boys would do this. They'd close their eyes and sing these songs, and these little grade 1 boys, they're mamish on fire, and they're singing with their eyes closed, like at the top of their lungs, right? Why? Because it's natural. It's the real. It's good and it's natural, and that's the way it should be. So They were taught. Don't worry, they get older and they become teenagers and they get embarrassed again, and then they have to relearn all this stuff. They also need Rabbi Nachman to tell them eventually. But
And Rabbi Greenbaum used to come. He used to teach melodies.
yeah, very good. So this is it. We got to use our voices. We got to speak out with power and allow what's inside to come out with azus. You don't need boldness if it's not difficult and it's not. We wouldn't be timid about it, right? So don't be afraid. Go out, find. This is why one of the reasons also why hisbodedus. It's important that it's called hisbodedus, because lehit boded means to be alone, right? Because you got to be able to just talk to Hashem and don't hold anything back. Let it out and actually speak it out, right?
He knows anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's begin the next step before we'll get a little bit through it. So that's the first main important point from today's lesson, is the concept of azus and akshanas and what it means to us and how we do it. Just I'm harping on it a little bit, but it's impossible to really have emunah and really connect to Hashem or to any person if we're not able to exist authentically and to not cover things up and block things out, right? As soon as I have to make up a story and cover myself up with who knows what, right? I'm okay, we will be friends and it'll be fine, but we're not going to get deep. We're not going to connect. Same with Hashem. I won't connect. I won't be deep with Hashem if we tell stories to Hashem even. We make up rationalizations and stupid things, right? We have to be authentic and project that authenticity out, and that's what brazenness means, right? Okay. Hey, letter Hey, page 340. V'tzarich kol adam larachem me'od al besar haguf. We're going in a totally different direction now. Remember the way that Rabbi Nachman's Torahs work. So sometimes he brings something in, and it seems like this is just something new. And Mitzvah Hashem, at the end, we'll see how everything connects in the deepest way, right? Every person has to have tremendous rachmanas, tremendous mercy and compassion on the flesh of their body. To show to it, to allow it to experience, to see, to illuminate to it every illumination and spiritual attainment that the soul is able to grasp. Shaguf gamkein yeda mizois ha'asaga, because the body also knows about this spiritual, I don't know how to translate hasaga, what does he say over here? Perception that a person experiences. The pasuk says in Yeshaya, and from your flesh do not hide. Do not hide it from your own flesh. The pasuk, so over there, the pasuk is referring to your relatives. Don't hide it from your relatives. Rabbi Nachman is saying, there's a different way to read this. Don't hide your spiritual awakenings from your body, your own flesh. Shaloi talim einecha milarachim al basarcha. Don't cover up your eyes. Don't hold back. Don't hide your eyes from the need to have compassion and rachmanas on your body. Hainu basar guf, the flesh of your body. What are we talking about here? Let's go a little farther. We have to be very careful with our body in order to purify it. In order that it should be able to know and understand all of the illuminations and the perceptions that our soul has. Because our souls are constantly seeing things that are very lofty, like not physical things. Our neshamas are in touch with things that we don't realize. But our bodies, which is sort of what we're mostly attached to, don't see this. Therefore, every person has to have tremendous mercy on their body, to purify it, to see that we purify our body, until the level where our soul is able to give over to our body the spiritual perceptions that it has. Right? So we don't realize it. But he says over here that we know that the whole universe is recreated every moment, right? Every moment, Hashem renews creation, right? And it's unfolding constantly, and we don't quite get it. We don't necessarily see it, but our neshamas are aware of this. Our neshamas are able to sense things that are much deeper in the spiritual realm than we just can in our regular physical lives, right? And so you see that some people, I know at least a few of us here know some people who are very spiritually in tune, and they have like an intuition. They're able to see things and understand things and experience real connections, or some people are just really able to connect to other people very well, right? Why? So if you train yourself, if a person trains themselves to always look at everyone else as a neshama, and always looks to see the spirituality of the person and the talents, the deeper essence of a person, then that's what a person sees, and that's what a person connects with. And when the other person, without even realizing it, is connected to by such a person, they feel it and they're drawn in, right? So these things are happening, and they're up there. And then we have incredible tzaddikim who are so attached to that realm and are so pure that they are aware of these things, and they can. So Rabbi Nachman's telling us that the more you purify your body, the more it's able to be in conversation with the neshama, and the more the holiness that the neshama encounters and sees in the world is transferred to the body. So we have to have Rahmanis on our body. We want to experience this. We want to feel this. We want to see it happen, right? So how do we do it? We got to stop giving in to all of the physical desires. We got to take care of it. We got to be healthy. Remember, Lost Princess, Rav Kook? We got to be strong, healthy, and stay away from just feeding this ridiculous gluttonous desires that we have. I'm sure you guys don't have such gluttonous desires, but right? So why? So this is one aspect. This is one aspect this is the way that we want to live. We want to be these people, right? Yeah, that's one thing. However, he says, when the body is in this type of existence, it's actually it's like a gift to the soul. It's good for the soul. Why? Because sometimes what happens is the soul also, we as a whole picture, the soul falls from its level. Something happens in the spiritual realm and the soul falls. The soul has a yerida. But if the body is pure and luminous, right? Now the body can pull the soul up, right? Because the body is already purified, is already on such a level that if the soul falls, it can like grab a hold, like a life preserver. The body can be a life preserver for the soul. Through the pleasures of the body, it can remember and ascend to those pleasures that it had, meaning the proper, good, the spiritual pleasures that the body is able to stores up, kind of, right? Because since the body of such a person is already good and kosher, right, and proper, Eino nilkad b'ta'anugim. It doesn't get trapped in the pleasures of this world. Therefore, through the pleasures of the body, the soul is able to rise back up to its place, l'tanugim shalah, to its pleasures, to the spiritual pleasures that it experienced. So we're just about at the stop here. Okay, one more tiny bit. Also, through the imprints, the remnants that are left in the body, through the tremendous influence that the soul had on the body. The soul shined beautiful spiritual lights onto the body, and that leaves a remnant, an imprint on the body. through those, it can have the energy to be able to fly back up into its place. And this is what a deeper level of the understanding of the pasuk in Eoiv. Through my flesh, I will see my God. I will see God. Right? This pasuk is used in a number of places to explain different things. One of the Kabbalistic aspects is that the layout of the spheres, the Kabbalistic spheres, follows the form of the body. Right? So one of the ways that we see this, this pasuk means, is that from my body, I can see God. Right? There's different ways that we understand this pasuk. But this one we're seeing over here is min basari daika, actually from my flesh. It's through the flesh of my body that I'm going to be able to now go, my soul is going to be able to go back up and experience Hashem again. The perception and attainment of godliness. The body, a person, with his body, he's going to be able to see and experience these tremendous perceptions of supernal perceptions that the neshama always sees. Ava, kashiyesh laguf azus. But when the body has brazenness, in the same aspect that the pasuk said, the dogs who are azei nefesh, who are brazen souls, who are just after themselves, gimme, right? When our body is in that realm, the soul is not able to rely on the body, is not able to use the body to get back up. Because it's going to get caught in the power of this tremendous brazenness of the body. Because the body is so brazen and bound with physical desires. For this, we need brazenness, holy brazenness. Which is what we said, it's our voices. This is how we break. You ever want to know how to stop eating too much, or sleeping too much, or being involved in those other things too much? How do you do it? It's through your voice. Because weeping, groaning, breaks the body of a person. When we break the brazenness and the power of the body, then the body, the soul can come close to the body. Because it won't be caught there. We'll stop there. But there's many places we see Rabbi Nachman talks about this concept of krechzing, right? Of sighing, of oiching. I don't know, whatever the words are, right? But it's a powerful thing. And in some places he says, like there's, I don't remember where I saw this. I was thinking of Reb Nassim, like specifically speaking about like a Jewish woman. When a Jewish woman is just whatever she's experiencing, and she sighs or krechzes a little bit, but it's to Hashem, right? It's tremendously precious and powerful to Hashem. And so too, he says it in one of the earlier Torahs. We had this already, if you remember, right? That krechz, the krechz of a yid, is so precious to Hashem, right? Because that's really something it's your whole body sort of is expressing something, and if that is expressed to Hashem, it's like directly, it's the direct sort of transmission of that feeling of needing Hashem right to Him. Many people, I don't know if you know people like this, who are real loud sighers, right? The loud sighers. And they'll walk around the house, and when they're not happy with something, and they'll be but they're not talking to Hashem. Right. They want the other people to hear. They want the other people to hear the sigh, so they can understand how upset they are, right? That's not the krechz we're talking about. That's not the sigh that we're talking about. We're talking about the krechz to Hashem, the anacha to Hashem. The weeping and the crying of a Jew to Hashem is so powerful and so connective. It's like the way we talked about in the past about crying, right? When a person really cries, right? It's we attach ourselves to something so pure and so really. That's a very good expression of authenticity. So why do we feel so good after you have a good cry, right? Why? Because you're finally casting aside all the masks. You're finally just being in touch with something that's real, right? And you're actually expressing your true self. So it feels good to cry because it's authentic. So too, this type of thing when we cry out. So using our voice, and he's specifically saying the anacha, but we should take this advice over here. We first have to have our azus, have to have our brazenness, and we have to use it to break our azus de kedusha. We have to use it to break the brazenness of our intellect and our thought process into making ourselves the king or following those who we shouldn't follow. But then we also use it to break the brazenness of our body. Our bodies are tremendously brazen, and they just go and they take, right? All the stuff that we shouldn't take. How do we break it? He's telling us over here. You want to do it? Use that voice. Use that voice powerfully. Cry out to Hashem. Cry out in prayer, in tefillah, in hisbodedus. Sing songs, sing zemiros to Hashem. We're supposed to always be singing, right? Sing zemiros to Hashem and daven. Use our voice for davening. Use our voice in Torah, right? When we learn, just let them have it. You're learning. You ever ladies ever learn together? You're in classes. People aren't talking too much in this class, right? But when we do, let's put it out there. Let's get it out there. Let's use our voices powerfully. Mitzvah Hashem will break all of the azus de sitra achra, all of the evil brazenness that we all have to some extent, and will allow those pipes to open and to connect our body to our soul, and to be able to receive the emunah from the tzaddikim, and our connection to Hashem should completely open up. Mitzvah Hashem. Any questions or comments from anybody, in person or on Zoom? Yeah, it's big stuff. Okay, Chevra, we'll see you all in Mitzvah Hashem. Some of you on Monday.
Thank you.
For a part, thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for putting on the lead, linking me in.
Okay, Sima, thank you for joining.
Sima, yes, thank you so much.
Okay, all the best.
I have another commitment until 9:15, so
okay.
I missed the first 15 minutes, but I can go back and get it.
Mitzvah Hashem, thank you.
Okay.
And we'll see some of you on Monday for the part 3 of the recap of the Lost Princess, and the rest of you will see next week also.
Okay.
Okay, everybody in Zeigzint. Love you guys. Bye.